I don't have it. I don't have it.
Call the meeting to order tonight, huh? You still in the chair. It ended December 31st.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight as we have our organizational meeting for the year 2012. Thank you all for coming out to join us in our public meeting. You're always welcome. First tonight, what we will do is have our moment of silence. If you will stand, and we'll have a moment of silence at this time. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board members, if you will review the agenda, if there are any corrections, will you please make them at this time? If not, we need a motion to adopt today's agenda.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda as written.
Second.
Moved and second that we adopt tonight's agenda. Any question on the motion? Agenda is approved.
We need to vote.
Vote? Okay, vote on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Have the same right. It's been moved and second and approved to adopt tonight's agenda. We have anyone here signed up for public comments?
No.
Moving to internal board business. First item, consider approval of the Kentucky School Boards Association facilitator as the hearing officer for the district facilities plan public hearing that is scheduled for January 10th at 6 p.m. I have a motion to approve.
I make the motion.
Second.
Moved and second to approve KSBA facilitator, which is Mike Older, as the hearing officer for the district facilities plan public hearing. Need a vote on the motion. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Moved and approved that Mike Older will be the KSBA facilitator for the hearing on January 10th at 6 p.m. that will be held in the auditorium. At this time, the floor is open for nominations for the Clark County Board of Education Chair for 2012 school year. The floor is open for nominations. Are there any nominations for Board Chair?
Nominate Judy Hicks.
Judy Hicks has been nominated as Board Chair. Are there any other nominations at this time? Are there any more nominations? If not, we need a motion to close the nominations for Board Chair.
I'll make the nomination to close. Or make the motion to close.
Second.
Second.
Moved and second that the nominations will be closed for Board Chair until the Board Chair for 2012 will be Judy Hicks.
Thank you. The next item of business is selection of the board vice chair for 2012. The nominations are in order.
I'll nominate Debbie Fatkin.
Debbie Fatkin has been nominated. Are there other nominations? Is there a motion that nominations close?
Make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Swope that nominations close. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wool. Those in favor of closing nominations for the board vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries. And by acclamation, Ms. Fatkin is the vice chair for 2012. The next item of business is to appoint the board secretary. Our superintendent serves as the board secretary, and we usually make that appointment at this meeting.
Any other nominations? Just kidding.
So to make it official, a motion is in order to appoint the superintendent, Elaine Ferris, as board chair for 2000, as the board secretary for
Board chair, there you
2012.
go.
Well, you did such a good job on preliminaries. Okay.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Fatkin to approve the
Second.
superintendent as the board secretary, second by Dr. Kudak to approve the superintendent as the board secretary for 2012. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Congratulations. The next item of business is to appoint the board treasurer for 2012. And our board treasurer is our finance officer, Ms. Clark. Are there other nominations? A motion is in order to
I make the
appoint-
motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Fatkin, second by Dr. Kudak, that Stacy Clark serve as the board treasurer for 2012. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. The next item of business is to establish the sequence of voting. In the past, that has been at the discretion of the board chair on whether we do voice votes or roll call votes. What's the pleasure of the group?
You actually have a policy, 01.4,
Yes, that says.
and it actually gives you, it says the quorum, of course.
Yes.
Board shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business, and the voting method and voting sequence, all voting shall be by voice vote, aye, nay, yes, no, show of hands, or roll call, as indicated by the presiding officer.
Yes.
If the vote is by roll call of members, the sequence of voting should be at the discretion of the presiding
Right.
officer.
So with our policy, are we going to stick with that policy? We're not going to change? Everybody
We're all
okay?
about policy.
We're all about policy. Okay. Okay. Do we need a vote on that, or just an acknowledgement?
just acknowledge.
Okay. We acknowledge that we will follow the board policy related to the sequence of voting. The next item is to approve monthly meeting dates, times, and locations, and a draft of some of the meetings that correspond basically to the ones we had this year are in the board packet.
You have always met on the third Tuesday, and that's pretty much what this time and dates are. You have a couple of actual added dates that you've always done, which is your draft budget, which gives the finance director and our consultant time to put that together before the deadline, which is January 31st, so that adds January 24th. Then you have to do a tentative budget, which must be done before May 31st, which is on a Thursday, May the 24th. That gives them time to put that budget together. And then you have your working budget, which is the 25th. And then you have your student achievement reports that you have every year. So you have those additional dates, which will be October the 23rd, which starts at 6 p.m., and November the 1st at 6 p.m. And then you have your regular meeting dates.
Does anyone have conflicts with vacations or anything for any of the summer dates particularly?
Is there any way we could do that January 24th at 6? If we can't, no big deal.
Okay, I mean, if everybody can be
Basketball
available.
game? Yeah,
Okay.
that's 6 o'clock spot.
Six
That's
for the
the-
24th.
That was the only one that,
24th, okay.
Okay.
does that work for you?
That's fine.
Those June, July dates okay, you say? Okay.
So that's the 24th.
It's 6 p.m.
The only thing I would say is with two building projects going on in the district right now, I might foresee some lengthy agendas in the near future, and I would not be adverse to having an extra meeting per month, either a work session and then a voting session, you know, we could discuss and vote, or just have 2 meetings a month for a period of time if the agenda items require that.
You can do that, or you also have the discretion of calling a special meeting. And usually, I think that's how you all have operated in the past. Usually is when you have building projects going on, there's often times that you do have to have additional meetings. And usually the architect or the contractor will say, we need some time because we need to discuss this. And they will usually let me know, then I'll call the board chair and say, we need to have a special meeting. And in that way, you can decide when is more timely to do it rather than putting it on a regular schedule. Will that work?
That's fine. I just want to avoid 11 o'clock meetings
Absolutely.
on a regular basis.
On a regular
I think some of us get cranky and productivity probably decreases with length of meetings.
And actually, I have been surprised you haven't had more special meetings since you've had so many projects going on. Usually there's been a lot of special meetings by this time, and it may get to that point when it gets closer to the completion of the high school. But I've been totally surprised there haven't had to be more special meetings. But we can do it that way.
Okay,
Well, there was a time it was normal to have meetings that went on past 11 o'clock, too.
yes.
Been there before.
It's good that those days are past.
My brain dies at 10.
Well, we will try to set a good precedent tonight,
Absolutely.
okay? So with those changes noted, a motion is in order to approve the monthly meeting dates, times, and locations.
I'll make the motion approving the monthly meeting dates, times, and locations as proper.
Motion by Dr. Kudak,
Second.
second by Mr. Swub. Other discussion? Those in favor of approving the monthly meeting dates, times, and locations as presented and discussed and amended, say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. The next item is the board focus on board vision, mission, belief statements, and board goals.
Basically, the vision and the mission and the belief statements you all have actually focused on those since I've been here for the last 3 years. And the Clark County Board of Education district goals you all set in June, those haven't changed, and we just like to, at our organizational meeting, bring those back to the forefront so that we can remember what our purpose is and what we're focusing on for the year. Any questions about those?
Questions? So on all of these, should we just kind of acknowledge these as a group after we go over them? Any questions about any of our belief statements, mission, board vision, and board goals? We will continue to focus on student achievement, and all of those items relate to our focus on student achievement. The board operating protocol, and this may be new for some of our new members. The organizational meetings in the past, or at least at some of them, we as a board have taken turns reading to kind of emphasize and acknowledge these board protocols. Would you all?
I think we should.
I think we should do that as well. Is everyone in agreement with that? So I'll read the introduction there. The Clark County Public Schools Board of Education Operating Protocol. For the purpose of enhancing teamwork among members of the board and between the board and the administration, we, the members of the Clark County Board of Education, do hereby commit ourselves collectively and individually to the following operating protocol. Dr. Kudak, would you read number 1, please?
Number 1, children's interests come first. The board will represent the needs and interests of all of the children in our district.
Number 2, the board acts only as a body. Individual board members do not have authority. Only the board as a whole has authority. We agree that an individual board member will not take unilateral action. The board president will communicate the position of the board on all issues.
3, follow the chain of command. The last stop, not the first, will be the board. We agree to follow the chain of command and insist that others do so too. While the board is eager to listen to its constituents and staff, each inquiry is to be referred to the superintendent.
Executive closed sessions will be held only for appropriate subjects. Executive sessions will be held only when specific needs arise. Board members will be extremely sensitive to the legal ramifications of their meetings and comments.
Number 5, communication between staff and the board is encouraged. However, board requests that will likely require considerable time or have political implications are to be directed to the superintendent. All personnel complaints and criticisms received by the board or its individual members will be directed to the superintendent.
Number 6, practice the governance role. The board will emphasize planning, policymaking, and communications rather than becoming involved in the management of the schools or district.
Number 7, practice efficient decision-making. Board meetings are for decision-making action and votes. We agree to move the question when discussion is repetitive.
Number 8, utilize superintendent input. The superintendent should make recommendations, proposals, or suggestions on most matters that come before the board.
Speak to the agenda issues. We agree to speak to the issues on the agenda and listen to our fellow board members. Facts and information needed from the administration will be referred to the superintendent.
Debate the issues. Conduct at a board meeting is very important. We agree to avoid words and actions that create a negative impression on any individual, the board, or the district. While we encourage debate and different points of view, we will do so with care and respect.
Number 11, own your own issues. The board will not be a ball carrier for others, but rather will encourage others to present their own issues, problems, or proposals when discussing issues.
Number 12, conduct efficient and effective board meetings. Long board meetings should be avoided. Buzzy. Points are to be made in as few words as possible. Speeches at board meetings will be minimal. If a board member believes he or she does not have enough information or has questions, either the superintendent or board president is to be called before the meeting.
13, do not bring surprises on other board members or the superintendent. There should be no surprises at a board meeting. Surprises to the board or the superintendent will be the exception, not the rule. We agree to ask the board president and the superintendent to place an item on the agenda instead of bringing it up unexpectedly at the meeting.
And annually conduct a board evaluation. The board will address its behaviors by self-evaluation and training as needed, and by addressing itself to any individual problems such as poor meeting attendance and leaks of confidential information.
And the board members will sign a printed copy of this. Do we have a printed copy available? But it's by the end of at the end of this meeting, we will take care of that. Thank you. The next item deals with the board powers and duties, and this is probably a review for us. This is our board policy 01.11. Any questions related to the general powers and duties of the board? So we will acknowledge those shortly when we acknowledge the other matters. Item 11, the best practices for board members. Yes, this is very good.
It is.
That was very interesting to read and really hits a lot of things on the head. And this is also an item that, do we have a hard copy of this one as well? Okay.
Sorry, Arlene.
Thank you, Arlene. So we will acknowledge those as well. And item 12, receipt and verification of the Kentucky Open Meetings and Open Records Laws documents. Each year, each board member is required to acknowledge receipt of the Open Meetings and Open Records Laws, and I believe we return those signed verifications to the superintendent. Are they kept on file here?
Yes.
But we do have to acknowledge that we have received those. Okay. Any questions about items 8 through 12? Could we have a motion that we have acknowledged, that the record reflect that the board has acknowledged those items?
Make the motion that we are acknowledging 8 through 12.
Okay, motion by Ms. Fatkin,
A second.
second by Dr. Kudak. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0, so we are acknowledging items 8 through 12 as noted on the agenda. Does anyone know of anything else that should properly be presented before this body at the organizational meeting? A motion is in order to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Swope,
Second.
second by Ms. Wolf. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. And the meeting is adjourned at 82%, 6:19 PM. On my other one, the time is over here, and now it says.
We try not to get on there.
Thank you.
What'd you need? This one too.